Hello, bonjour, greetings, and welcome to the unofficial PopCap PopCast, a podcast about the golden age of PopCap games by two guys who were there at the time. I'm Steve Notley.
And I'm Isaac Aubry. And I'd like to reinforce the unofficial aspect of this. We do not represent PopCap or PopCap under EA or EA or any of that. We're just a couple folks who used to work at the old company before any of that happened. And we're excited to tell stories and bring in friends who also worked with us to enlighten you all to us how it went there back in the day.
And
So
we do actually have a couple of friends with us today. Is that not correct, Isaac?
absolutely. We have the legendary Matt Holmberg and the legendary Rich Werner, who both of whom worked on Plants vs. Zombies and many other games at PopCap, actually. And we are going to talk with them about their early beginnings and their time at PopCap and what they've been doing since then.
We figure we can just jump right into it and share it with you folks because these gents have a lot to say. So, without any further ado, Rich Werner and Matt Holmberg, formerly of PopCap Games.
Oink.
I think we probably want to move into the sort of the more specific PvZ stuff, unless there's anything. Isaac, do you have anything else you want to ask him about, like
I
the
do. I do. I've
pre-PvZ?
just got
Okay,
one
yeah.
thing. Like being that you're both illustrators, when I was a kid, I got into comic books and I was like, I want to draw comic books. I was fucking terrible at it and I just stopped pretty quick. But like, I'm just curious, like that early impulse to draw stuff on a piece of paper, like what inspired you? Was it a comic book? Was it a cartoon? Was it a game? Like Rich, like what was your first like, oh dude, I want to do this.
Uh, to be honest with you, it was before comic books. It's just so weird, but like when I was really little, like when like 6 or 7 years old, I was infatuated with Disney movies, and I was like, I want to be able to draw and animate. That's what I wanted to do ever since I was really little, and so
Yeah.
that's where I got all my that, and then watching all like Warner Brothers cartoons and all that stuff like that. I wanted to be an animator forever, and I wanted to design characters and stuff. And then when I discovered comics, because my dad brought a bunch of comics home that so long story short, when my dad was in the Navy, and he confiscated comic books from some guy that wasn't supposed to have them, and he gave them to me.
That's the other side of the fun police.
Yeah. And so like I had a bunch of like Conan comics and stuff when I was like really young. They're like super
Yeah.
adult oriented,
Ooh,
but I was
yeah.
like, these are sick. And like
Were they the magazine ones or the
Oh
actual
yeah,
comic?
like yeah,
The ma-
the
they were
black
like
and
the
white
big-
magazine
yeah,
ones.
big
Yeah,
ones.
yeah, King Conan. Those are
With like
great.
Yeah, those
You
were
get a
sick,
drawn
dude.
backgrounds, Jesus.
And so like I really wanted to do that. And then from then on, I really literally just constantly was drawing. I mean, constantly drawing. I don't know. It just seemed like a natural thing. Like my dad bought me an art desk in my room. I've always had an art desk in my room ever since I was little.
Yeah, another thing I want to mention right there is like this is a story there too. It's like there was support. Like my mom was very supportive of me getting into video
Yeah.
games.
Mhm.
Like,
Oh yeah, no, totally.
yeah,
And my parents
that's
were too. I mean, they didn't really. I don't think they really understood what I was doing, but they were just like, if that's what you want to do, it's better than you're
that's
not
what
out there
beautiful,
like
man.
acting like a maniac and doing horrible things. You literally just want to hang
That'll
out
come
and
later.
draw pictures.
Let me get really good at drawing, and then I'll do that. And get
Yeah, exactly.
You hear that,
Yeah.
listeners? Like be a good parent.
Yeah, totally.
support your kids' crazy
Parent to
interests.
support your children.
Dude, I
Don't
remember my
tear
dad
them
telling
down.
me to get off the television and quit playing video games. And then when I called him and I was like, "Yeah, I just got a career making video games," they're like, I wanted to. If I had a time machine, I was like, "Man, we should go back to all those times you told me to stop doing that," and be like, "Ha ha."
Oh no, totally. I remember that too. Yeah,
Yep.
my dad didn't really understand it when I started making video games. He was like, I don't know,
get
man.
that
Like,
now.
what? Like,
Yeah.
that's not a job,
Yeah,
Like,
I get that now.
a
I
guy
was
who's
talking-
been in the Navy his whole life. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
pretty
what
crazy.
about you, Matt, though? Like
Yeah,
what
right,
was
yeah.
your what first hooked you?
I liked drawing. Okay, I did have like some natural ability, so I was better than like the like other people around me when I was little. So I kind of liked it. Okay, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But definitely video games I liked a lot. And not too long after that, it was anime and manga really got me. I remember seeing Ranma One Half and Tenchi Muyo, and I met my buddy Jerry, and he was another guy that could draw or knew like liked drawing, and we would hang
Voorhees?
out. Yeah, Jerry, Jerry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we would hang out and watch anime and draw together. And at that point we were working at Squaresoft, and I just realized it was like, dude, this is what you want to do. Learn how to draw a vampire and a jet ski, and then you can get a job
Yeah, right.
eating
That one.
teriyaki and hanging out all day and having a good old time. And yeah, so that was really the moment was at hanging out at a game development studio.
I
and
could draw a
seeing
donkey in
kinda
compromising positions.
What? Yeah, well, that was
Man.
later. Yeah,
We
Dude,
won't talk about that.
I had a little
Yeah.
bit of a leg up too, because when I think back now, when I was going into junior high, I actually submitted a portfolio to go to a school that was focused on art. It was a regular school, but like it was focused on the arts. So like, dance and
Like
theater
fine
and
art.
film. Yeah, yeah. And so like I submitted a portfolio and I got accepted. So I went to a separate junior high than my sister did. My sister had to go to like the shitty school. And I went
that's
to
what
this.
it says on the front.
Yeah, she even complains about it to me to this day. She's like, "Man, I had to go to that shit school."
And you just laugh.
Yeah, and so like I went there and
the C school. It's like right next to the nice one.
yeah, I know. And then that led into the high school that they also did. So I went to that also before I moved up here from California. And that school, I had 2 hours of art every day. So it was like 2 periods instead of 1. And so like I had double the amount of art classes and I didn't have to do PE.
And see, that's the thing that I did not do. I never
Badass.
took any art training at all until I was my junior year of high school. I went to a local community college and took drawing 101. And the art guy came around and was like, "What are you doing in 101?" I'm like, "Well, I don't have any credits." He's like, "Well, 105 is just after this. So if you can't officially show up to 105, just show up an hour later and we'll just figure it out." And
Oh, nice.
man, he taught me so much. Mike Larson was this guy at Shoreline
Oh, that's
Community
cool,
College.
man.
Super beast. The other thing I wanted to mention there on influences, and it kind of shows up in our game Imagination that we both worked on, was my very first ever published piece was an ElfQuest fan art in a
Yes.
Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con program. And then later, we'd worked on Imagination for a minute before Rich was like, "Oh, I loved ElfQuest." And you can definitely see, as far as body proportions, Imagination and ElfQuest are like right there.
Dude, they really are really
Yeah.
close.
Aren't the
Was it Richard
peonies
and
like
Wendy
Wendy
P,
and,
right?
and
I was just
and,
going to ask Rich who the artist were because I feel bad.
but
mentioning
it's
them, and I don't even know.
Wendy.
it's Wendy Peony
Wendy,
and
Wendy.
the
Richard.
other and her husband, and I believe they live in the Pacific Northwest, right?
No, do they?
I think
Yeah.
so.
Hey, do you want to
I've
hear?
met Wendy Peony. She was
Of course
at
you
like
have.
some film thing like in Seattle.
Wow, dude, I would love to meet
You guys want to hear a
them.
bummer story about them?
I love bummer stories.
So I was a huge ElfQuest fan when I was a kid, and my daughter, my youngest daughter now, is also a huge fan of it. She
It's
loves it.
great stuff, man.
I have an original piece of hers in my hallway. I have the original comic books. I have all that stuff. I met her at a Comic-Con in Oregon, and I don't even care because this pissed me off. I was there, and she was like a booth, like 2 booths away from me, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna actually meet this person that I've looked up to like my entire
Never meet
career."
heroes.
And I brought a sketchbook, one of my sketchbooks that I had made, like I was selling sketchbooks. And I was like, "Man, I just really wanted you to have this because I just want to let you know like how much of an inspiration you are to me and everything." And she was like drawing at her desk, and she just got the book and she went, and then she just kept drawing.
Oh my God.
And I was all,
Ah.
"Mama."
You know,
But
And
now, but
I
at
just
least
turned
now
around and
you-
left, and I was
you-
like, "Whatever, man, I hate you." And I was
Yeah,
kidding.
but
it
you've done
sucks.
enough cons now that you can sort of put yourself into that headspace, right? It's
No,
like
no.
there's a very
really?
real
I've
possibility that
never
if
been
she-
like that ever.
If she
Ever.
heard that story, she might be mortified. She might have had like a migraine or something. She probably doesn't even remember it.
Or
I
is
don't
or
know.
is
Probably
just
not.
like I've taken contracts to do 3 or like 5 pinups this con, and I've only
Perhaps.
this is pinup number 2 out of 5,
Right.
and I got to finish these.
Let's
in
give her the
2
benefit of the
hours.
doubt.
All right, but I'm just saying, like it crushed me though. I was
I
like,
don't know,
"Damn."
I'm on Rich's
Dude, when I
side here.
met Rich, your
I've been
feelings
snubbed at a
don't
con or
matter.
two.
Dude, when I met Doug
Yeah, my feelings don't
Tenapal-
matter. Who cares?
Or Doug
Yeah.
Doug Tenapal, the gear guy, Earthworm Jim
To
guy.
Naples, yeah.
Just
I'm working
yeah,
on some with him right now, actually.
yeah. When I met him at a con, and some of the stuff that was coming out of his mouth, I was like, oh,
He's got like,
yeah,
he doesn't mind telling you how he feels about anything.
absolutely. But I do love his art, and I
His
can't- I
art
will
is
say,
great.
I think
love
that
it.
if you've never seen that graphic novel Gear, that is like
I have it.
near. That is one
Yeah.
of the coolest looking pieces of paper in the world.
Right.
Yeah,
Anyway.
his art is fantastic. But yeah,
And it's
Yeah, that was a
interesting that
bummer, but-
he's, again, he is like this long-standing graphic novelist, right? And he's done like a dozen or more graphic novels, but by far he's most famous for creating Earthworm Jim.
Earthworm,
right?
yeah.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
still the number one thing that anyone thinks of when If you even mention his name, if you just say Earthworm Jim, like, oh, that guy, like, you know,
Dude, just aged like wine too. Gosh, that game. You look back on it, and you're like,
it's still great, man.
it's that. Yeah,
Such interest. Like I'm thinking of the Earthworm. Now I don't know how many versions of it there were, but I'm thinking of I think like the one of the earlier ones on I think the Genesis.
Static Sega. Yeah,
And even just something as simple as like Earthworm, he's got like the little ray gun, and it just goes, and it doesn't. You don't see the projectiles. You just see it kind of going,
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
it
yeah,
was-
yeah.
and whatever is
Yeah.
over here getting shot, like
It
like,
was,
eats
yeah.
the damage is such a cool visual idea to have in your shooter to
Well,
not see the
and also,
projectile.
yeah, and
Hey,
that's
look at
like,
this.
to bring it back to
Yeah.
I have a
Nice.
toy on my on my wall.
well, to bring it back to PopCap for a second, and like us high-fiving ourselves all the time. That was a big phrase that would
Oh,
always
yeah.
go around the studio, was like the PopCap look and feel, which I always kind of thought was a bit disingenuous and like a self-congratulatory.
That seems
But like,
weird.
but the one thing I will say is that like the polish level, like we would work on something and work on it and work on it and work on it and keep adding those little things, and the aggregate of those little things would make it way better. And in kind of an intangible way, it was hard to describe, like, why is this game feel so smooth? And just like you were talking about that ray gun in Earthworm Jim, Steve, it's like that subtle warm-up animation adds to feel. And that's like, how do you describe that? How do you quantify it? How do you justify that to your producer? Like, I could make this game way cooler if you gave me a month to do things you can't notice.
Oh,
He's
dude.
like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
Or even just got off my back for a day to let me do this thing.
Sure,
That,
sure.
Oh,
you know,
no,
and
there's
then
that too.
like somebody like Jason is kind of a weird version of both because he'd often sort of like float in and go, "You guys should do this thing," and like
they
people
go,
on a game wouldn't necessarily know that they didn't answer directly to Jason.
Right. Yeah.
So, but Jason would just get in his head some little bit of chrome or polish that he wanted to see.
Right.
So everybody drop everything, and then you'd go, "Oh yeah, that's actually a pretty
Yeah,
cool
let's
bit of
stop worrying
polish,
about the
right?"
enemy
Like,
AIs or collision or anything. Let's worry about this like little
you could
flight
sort of say
fancy.
that this does nothing in terms of the overall design completion of this game towards like it is now done and we're
Yeah,
selling it.
but
But like as you say, the feel
when people
would
click,
actually
their deep
noticeably
down
jump,
sub brain
right?
Yeah.
will feel
Yeah.
happy, and they'll go, "I like this game."
It,
Or
it
he'd be
gives a
like,
lot to the
blue,
lifetime of
red.
the game.
No.
Yeah, like the emotional connection, which is the stuff that really started to kind of dissolve, especially after the buyout, but even sort of before, where it's just like, oh, well, we're in the microtransactions world now, and everything is all
Oh.
about just like getting the players to go through this spreadsheet of power up value.
Analytics is a
invite
game
gun-
design
yeah.
tool. Like, oh no.
And
Make the
and we
invite,
would always,
like,
or at
button
least
bigger.
I would always be sort of going, I understand that video games have this absolutely quantitative, numbers driven quality, aspect to them, but we also can't just sort of assume, therefore, that the feelings and the emotions that you have don't
Right.
exist and don't matter, right?
And I totally that was a philosophy and kind of a thing I came to understand like more toward the end of it, where it's like there's kind of two big families of game making. There's like a fast follow method where it's like, hey, I just saw PvZ, I'm gonna make a game like PvZ. And then there's the other side where it's like, I got this crazy idea and nobody's done it. And and I don't know if it's going to work. And nobody likes it except for a couple people. But I like it a lot. And it comes from a very pure place of creating stuff. The problem with that is that you can make a lot that won't work. I remember reading that Rovio made like 41 games before they made Angry Birds. Like, you're going to have a lot that don't work.
Mhm.
But what you'll never get a PvZ trying to fast follow. You can only get a Bejeweled by making something pure from an artistic point. So it's like, sure, you're always going to get your 40% RP off of the fast follow clone games, but if you really want, a flagpole asset, as they call them for the buzzwords, it's got to come from a
Well,
place of
and-
artistic.
I want to plug this in real quick because I just got an ad yesterday for a game that I would have never thought of myself, and it was totally like this. It's on this track, and it's like you're being chased down an endless chasm by a giant centipede, and you have to just like you're like hooking onto a wall and swinging onto a thing, and every time you look up, there's this like horrifying creature coming at, and that's the game. You're just like going down as far as you can to get away from the
Right.
centipede.
Yeah, you
I'm
can
like,
imagine some guy thinking like, man, that'd
That's
be a game I would
crazy.
play if I was like totally scared and running away from some crawling like, arthropod or whatever.
oh
Well,
man,
and
I was
the-
like, do I
the-
send this to Ed Allard lizard or not. Oh
But-
man,
Yeah.
he's
Oh, 'cause
terrified of
he's so
centipedes.
terrified of
I'm gonna like
centipedes.
this.
You should.
But I just want to emphasize, Matt, this idea of like as an artist or initiating an idea, and you're like, I really believe in this, even though nobody else can really see it, uh, and then you do that, but and you do that over and over and over again, and eventually one of these things clicks. But from inside, you honestly don't know the difference between this one that everybody in the world just
Dude.
it loved and the first 40 that you felt exactly the same about. You had
I
the
always
exact
loved
same
that. You would
level of
see,
love for this thing, and yet it just
you'd hear people coming back from GDC. Like I went to some panel about how to make games fun, or you'd see a book about like make fun games, and I'm not. This is not hyperbole or exaggeration, but I've probably tried to develop about 100 video games before that. Maybe 30 of them went out. Like the vast majority kind of don't, but there isn't a recipe to follow. You don't know, and there's always that magic moment where you get your first kind of playable concept down, and then you give it a spin. It's like taking the first sip of something you like brewed. You just don't know yet, and then you feel it, and you're like, oh man, we got something here, or it's not there, but you want it to be. So you're like, maybe if we put a bunch of bells and whistles on, maybe if we added a shop or a metagame mechanic, or we really worked up the art, or we made like a multiplayer, whatever. You try to like put lipstick on a pig. Sometimes that works, that's fine, but you kind of know right away, and there isn't ever a recipe. You can't ever really know.
There's
it
no
is a
recipe.
really tricky thing, because like a video game is already like a bunch of different things that have been brought together, right? Like
Absolutely, it's art and
images and
music and
sounds
story.
and,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
patterns and
and
movements
playability.
much.
Yeah,
and so sometimes it really is just a kind of case where it's like it is only going to make sense when you see it all together.
right.
But other times it's just like, like making the art better is not going to make this fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right? Like,
buying an upgraded piece of paper for Prince of Toys isn't gonna
Yeah.
fix this.
It's weird because the experience I had with that, especially a release game, is like after PvZ when I made Octageddon. I spent 5 years making that damn game,
Right.
and all the visuals I did, I thought it was going to be the greatest thing ever, and I loved playing it. I thought it was so cool, but when it released, it just kind of didn't go anywhere.
There's some,
and I don't even know
there's
why.
some-
It's just
there's some magical
So weird.
equation, some like alchemy situation there where you just don't know until you.
yeah.
I think of it like bands a lot. There's a right time and a right place, right audience. You can't dial that stuff in necessarily. Sometimes you got to have enough, a company like PopCap behind you. That's a good help with that. That still isn't even a guarantee. I don't think, it's really like, I think the world is ready for Plants vs. Zombies. Somehow you would never know that. It just like, bam, there's people acting it out in gymnasiums in China in like 3 months
weird.
after release. Like what?
If there was
but
a
like,
way
yeah,
to,
then
like-
I have no doubt Octogeddon, I played it for a while. I'm like, this is on par with PvZ. Why
didn't hit
why
the same.
not?
I don't
Why
know.
not?
and I'll say that like the this necessity of the right place, right time, the fact that it like no matter how much you yourself put into the thing, there's still this other gap between this thing and its relationship to the rest of the world
Oh yeah.
is just not something that you can force on your end. But here's the thing is that like places like EA, they make the mistake of going, we can force this.
Oh, they
We
think they
can
can.
just do it all on our side and remove the question mark part of the equation where it's like, and then of course everyone loves it.
Well, I
Right.
think that's really where the industry is at right now. Is that the question mark part of the equation is done on the indie side, and then when there's an indie success, they just buy that person. They don't ever invest in like in developing new properties or exploring new ideas. It's risky, and why
Well,
do
dude-
it when there's so many people out there that'll take that cost for you? As soon
How
as it
many
starts
how many new
working, fine.
properties did EA make after they bought PopCap? How many new properties did PopCap make after they got bit?
We
Well,
talked
never,
about
yeah.
that in our previous episode.
say,
It was
none?
something like 70
Like-
some games that PopCap made in the like 11 years that it existed prior to the buyout, and then something like 20 since then. So that's been like 15 odd years. And I think all of them except maybe 2 were kind of riffs on games that had been made in that earlier phase.
Of
right?
course, because
Oh,
yeah,
no,
they
totally.
they would never be like, okay, like Rich and Matt and Todd and George and Laura and Steve, we're gonna pay you guys a salary for 5 years to develop something that may or may not work. EA's not going to friggin' do that. And
No,
Well,
billion
so
years.
let's get
And
into
PopCap
this. Like,
did.
and I want to hear from you, Rich. Like, so then, Prince of Toys ended. Walk me into how you got involved with Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah. So Prince of Toys, obviously that was done, and then I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like literally sitting at my desk with
The
nothing
mood
to do.
wasn't hot at that moment. I remember.
No,
I
I just like I was kind of nervous. I'm like, do I have a job still? Like,
and I was on the end of Talismania too. So yeah, we were.
oh
at
yeah,
the
and I
highest
did
point.
a tiny bit of Talismania with you just to help you out because I just
Yeah,
didn't have
because I
anything.
remember you were like, "Fuck!" Now I'm just like, I'm playing second fiddle on that fucking stupid game again. This sucks. I do remember.
No, I didn't care
remember-
about that. Oh, and then I did some. I remember I did some splash screens for the tank game.
Oh, heavy metal.
Heavy weapon.
metal.
weapon?
Yeah.
Heavy
Weapon. Yeah, I did some some screenshots for that. And then I just well, what happened was, and I don't know if you guys if we all got this at the same time, but there was George had posted a build of Plants vs. Zombies, and it was all pixel art, and it was just like really rudimentary, but like the mechanics were there, right? And so like I was playing it, I'm like, this game is hella fun, like I like it, and I was like, who's in there? And I heard that George is just doing all the art by himself, just like making
because he had these like super jank.
Yeah,
and yet they had. Well, keep going.
well, yeah, and
His
they were
design sense is good.
they were iconic too, like because the first five plants
yeah.
in the game and the original Zombies basically me
Yeah,
taking George's
His design
stuff and
sense was
making it
there. Yeah, he just wasn't technically proficient like
Yeah,
an illustrator is.
But yeah, so I heard about that, and then I was like, well, dude, they don't have an artist for it, and I heard that they were actively looking. I'm like, they're actively looking, and I'm like sitting here like doing nothing,
I'm right here.
And they're like trying to find people, like getting resumes.
And if you were to
see
see like Rich's sketchbook going into it, it's like it's just man, like
oh, well, thanks.
well, you just like the way you draw, like you
Well,
like drawing funny, janky stuff with buck teeth and bug ass eyes. Like,
Yeah,
that is
yeah.
like that's core Rich drawing.
I know.
Well, so like, how specific can you be, Rich, about how you eventually ended up in it? Like, how do you remember your first conversation with George? Or
Yeah, we wrote back and forth, and
okay,
and he was just like, if you can send us some samples of your work as if I'm an outsider, right? Like it was just like
Apply
anybody
for
else.
the job.
No, basically I applied for that job. So like,
and they were in San Francisco, so it was like George and Todd and Laura would have been in San Francisco, and you were in Seattle.
and I was the
And-
only one in Seattle, right?
And Dave.
Dave. Oh yeah, Dave Grohl. Or no, Roll.
Yeah.
R-O-H-L.
Crazy
Back when we
Dave
worked
Grohl.
with Dave Grohl.
No,
That guy's
I'm like,
everywhere.
what? No, yeah, no. that would be crazy. But I applied for it. And I sent the drawing, and the drawing I sent them was it's the daisy in the game. It's just this little white flower that's in like it's in like the Zen garden area, that little flower.
Right.
That drawing actually is the same drawing or the same exact art. Like it didn't change. They were like, oh, I like the way this looks. Let's just do everything like that. And so then I did
You're like
I'm like,
green lights all the way down the road.
Because they
Rinse
were-
and repeat.
So then
Well-
I did the sunflower, and then when I did the zombie, though, I did like a couple other iterations because I wanted to do my own take on it, but they were like a little bit too gross or too scary looking, like because they were like we want it to still be like kid friendly kind of.
Well, and I remember that first build, and yeah, like it was clear that George had something very kind of particular in mind because he was just sort of saying, can you just basically make this except
he did,
good,
yeah.
right? Like
That's exactly how it was, dude. The walnut, the pea shooter, the sunflower, the cherry bombs, and the actual
but just make it look nice.
regular
instead of
zombies. Like make these
crummy,
look
right?
cool
Yeah.
based on my shit drawings.
I never
Whatever.
had the background at that point. Like, I don't never met that background artist, but there was
Dude,
some
I just met that guy this year.
no shit.
Met him online.
Wow.
Yeah, he's lives in Spain, I think.
I remember it was
Crazy.
foreign. Yeah.
But yeah, he did those original backgrounds just as the beginning of the game, just to like get the idea out, and they never changed.
So now, and
They-
let
they
me
were
ask you this
perfect.
as well. This would have been this is post Prince of Toys, and this was when you were still making like animation strips, right? Like you would
Yeah,
draw like the same character several different times to do their frames
Yeah.
of animation.
In a tool called Pop Anim, right? That's
dude. Oh yeah, that one. Oh man, I hated that thing. But no, this is the coolest thing ever. And I think this is kind of honestly, I think pushed some of PopCap's games to another level was that I learned how to use Flash to make PvZ, and that was the first time that we could actually do squash and stretch. Because Todd was like, "Dude, we can actually squish things and scale them," and I'm like, "Oh hell yeah, dude!" So
And that's
just
just
doing that.
Dude, that's just like the ray gun thing you were talking about, Steve. That how much that adds, that bit of feel and squish, it just, man.
Because
And
if you
this
look-
actually makes me think of what you were saying earlier, Rich. Like it was animation in those old cartoons that got you stoked on doing this stuff. And now you're in a
Yeah.
position where you're taking all of that inspiration and thought, and you're like, yeah, squish it.
dude, it was awesome, man. Like when I was squishing, because I remember Bookworm, it was more like a paper doll cutout, the characters, right? Like but
Right,
they didn't
yeah.
they didn't have any squash and stretch. They just had movement.
Yeah, they
just
would
kinda move.
exactly. They'd be sort of hinged like a paper doll.
Yeah, and so this
Uh,
was like you could take that and actually bend it and contort it and stuff, and it just made it everything seem more alive.
You
it's so
remember
yeah. Go on.
what was the resolution? I
800 by
made,
600.
yeah, I was making 6
Yeah,
by 800
yeah, it was.
ones,
It
and we made
was.
some even smaller ones at Sprout. But I
That's
can't
6 by 4,
remember.
maybe.
Yeah, so that was 800 by 600.
Yeah, it was 800. Although at the time even I was like, this is too small in my head. I was like, we should make it bigger, just because I
Well,
figured that it's
especially
going to
if you're
accelerate.
squashing, well, obviously, which it did, right? Yeah, but
Yeah.
squashing when you've got that little pixels, the interpolation is
Oh, and I had to do it all by hand. There was no. I was like literally just like every little piece was separate. There was no like bones and stuff that they have now.
rigs. Yeah,
There was no
Yeah.
rigs. So like I had to make sure all the pieces had to just be put in the right place at the right time, and it was.
And then yeah, like
hard.
I still I don't think I ever worked with Pop Anim directly. Like I was just sort of aware that they existed.
I
and stuff
skipped
like
over
that.
it. I just went straight to
Like,
Flash.
But yeah, because Pop Anim would be the sort of thing where I think in order for it to work, you would create the assets and then like you'd output this huge atlas
Oh, I remember the
of
atlases. Yeah.
all the art, and then Pop Anim would kind of go and like read out all this,
Yeah.
all the individual pieces out of this one giant.
yeah, a
Piece of
VRAM,
art.
baby. That
Yeah,
was just like
VRAM.
the
Yeah,
old
dude,
days,
the VRAM. That makes sense. But see that makes sense only if your animations don't have to be interpolated in any way, right? Like
They have no
they can just-
life.
there's no life to them
What?
because it's just grabbing pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
like, that's
you
why
know,
when we did,
right, yeah.
Talking
So-
about how small that art was, I remember when it became my job to convert all of that art to make a tiny little flash or like the web version
Oh
of
yeah.
Plants vs. Zombies. And you helped me with and taught me a couple of things in Photoshop that I still use to this day, from the unsharp mask for things that you've
Oh
shrunk.
yeah, dude.
You know,
Hell
I,
yeah.
I think
So,
that,
like,
that was when I
and
really got to be good friends.
totally
with guys
helped me
who
out with
dealt
all that.
with Photoshop stuff.
Yeah, we learned that because it was like if you didn't do that mask, then things would have like a weird shiny glint to it, like because
Mhm.
it's
You'd get those crispies, yeah.
like weird pixels. And so like we're like, okay, if you throw the unsharp mask on it, it'll clean things up a little bit. And then Todd had written something in the program that would also try to get rid of like that shininess. And once he did that, and then was able to, the other thing that he did that I thought was rad was everything wasn't on the same time.
Right.
Like he
It
made
was
it
an
so that
offset,
things could be
yeah.
timed like random. So like everything on the screen isn't all just moving at the same.
Right.
It was like it was
Mhm.
able to like move around in different speeds and stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like
because if
sick
you're
as
looking
hell.
at a field of these plants, they're not all synced up, right? They all
Yeah.
have their slight little individual lives.
Yeah, and I think that's what really helped it too. It just helped make everything seem more like
Randomized.
I don't know, like just which is cool, you know, because
But just-
otherwise
just-
it's just like
more life. Well, so now Matt, you said so you did not do the background. So what was your part of the PvZ?
All UI stuff. It was, or a couple. Yeah, there were some backgrounds. I guess there was.
I mean,
You
you
did
did
Crazy
the
Days
you
and
did
stuff.
the car, right? You did
Yeah.
Crazy
there was
Days
like,
car.
yeah, Crazy Days car. It was funny. It's like that guy Dave Roll. He was the producer down there in the San Mateo office, and he had this really funny car, and yeah, just like the one he's got, in the game. And all those guys down there were like, "Oh man, you see the back of his car? He's got so much junk in there. He's got this and that and the other thing, and like a rollerblades and a blender and stupid shit, like, things you got to add in the back of it." Yeah, that was fun. There was another thing about that.
Well, that's who Crazy Dave was based off of. It
Yeah,
is-
that was the thing. That was who he was based off of. So they wanted to have his car in there. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to mention about it was that they had a lot of names for PvZ going in. War and
Oh
Peas was
God.
Lawn of the
one.
Dead.
Lawn of Los Muertos.
Lawn of
There
the
was a
Dead, right?
yeah,
It
Lawn
was
of
That
the
was the
Dead.
big
what
one.
it was
So
called for the whole
I think it made it in the game,
development.
but if you look in the back
Bloom
of the
and Doom.
car, there is yeah.
Bloom and Doom, Zombotany. I mean, a
Oh
lot of
yeah.
those because we it was called Lawn of the Dead throughout its development, and then
Yeah.
at the last minute, I think they either reached out to like
George
They
Romero.
yeah,
Romero
and like
and
Miramax or whatever, and they were like, "Do you think
They
it's
said
we
cool?"
no.
can't use this, and so then we had
Yeah.
to go through
Right.
this thing that PopCap would often do is like it would be on burrito. It's like, okay, we can't use this name. We need some name suggestions, and
There
there'd
were
be
so many.
dozens and dozens and dozens and
Right. Right.
dozens of name suggestions, and most of those ended up as names of mini games and so
Right.
on.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah.
anyway, just
Uh,
to take it back and finish that thought, there was I put a box in there of some kind of game, and it just said War and Peas on it. That was like a little Easter egg thing in
Nice.
the back of his. Yeah. I remember how much people were like, "Man, Plants vs Zombies is just too dead on the nose. Like it's just too generic."
I
And
was
people hated
irritated
it.
when I heard
There
that.
were
I'm
some
like,
people that were
no.
really,
Yeah.
really die hard against it. Like it was like a make or
I
break.
was part of that. But you know, and then looking back, you go, it is perfect,
Well,
right?
and we
When
learned something
you
big that day for naming things is think of the acronym. Like
yeah.
if it makes an acronym that's got that much what's the alliteration or onomatopoeia like PvZ, it just bam, it just hits so
and
good.
Yeah.
and and two that like because we were always just like for me when I for the names that I was pitching like I think I might have pitched Bloom and Doom, I think Zombotany, all those sorts of things, just trying to just getting too cutesy. And you're right, like you just say, oh, Plants vs Zombies is too on the nose, but if you sort of step back and just go, if you've never heard of this and the first thing you're learning is Plants versus Zombies, it's like that's the idea
Yeah.
and that's the joke. Right?
Yeah.
It's like when I'm at Comic-Con and I've got my big banner that says Bob the Angry Flower, people walk by and they look at it and kind of smile or chuckle, and I
Yeah,
go, "Oh,
you don't need to
to
think
me
this
that's
out.
just like it's on the nose." But then I'm like, "Oh no, that I guess that's a
Yeah,
funny thing, right?" And so we were so close to it that you couldn't see that no, Plants vs Zombies is the gag,
right.
and it just tells you everything that you need to know, like that
Yeah.
radical simplicity
And then
turns
George to
out
be
to be
able to
the
like
best
actually just
thing, right?
say, this is it. That's it. Like he just said, we're just gonna call it Plants vs Zombies. That's it. That and he was just like done. And it
You know what?
just worked.
Another thing I really want to mention on this was like thinking back to how little credit we gave our fans, and they were like, "Well, we can't say a lot of Los Muertos because foreign language scares them." And they were already worried about the occult thing. Remember, like they were like, "Oh, it's zombies, it's occult. We're gonna scare the
Oh
Christians."
Jesus.
Well, and
Man, I
it's
remember.
crazy to think that like in we were worried about the Chinese market, but it's like, oh well, Chinese law says that
Dude,
like
they exploded
you
that thing.
know
They
there's
were making
all this
unofficial
stuff
theme
about
parks. Yeah,
decapitation and depiction of blood and blah blah
right.
blah and undead, and it's just like, oh, and then it turns out like China loves PvZ way more than North America
I
Oh,
does.
think
yeah.
I think they're the biggest market for that
Oh,
game,
for
like
sure.
in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
It was
But our,
amazing. Like every other day, there's some video from China coming through Burrito that was like, yeah, like here's a whole stadium of people like
yeah, they
pretending
built
there's
a
or I don't know,
fucking
there's
theme
just tons of
park
crazy
with
stuff.
no licensing or
I know
anything.
there's random playground parks and theme parks, and then stores inside of malls with totally unofficial merchandise, like covering it.
You know,
Like,
that's the thing I will say. Like, just
We're
like
all trying to get the unofficial merch.
dude, I have a bunch of it.
We hit every home run you could imagine, but I do remember thinking like how flat-footed we were caught on the merchandising. It's like they
Dude,
didn't
that was
know
the
what
worst.
they didn't know what they had, and that was they'd never done it. They didn't have a department for it. They didn't, there wasn't like a brand manager or something. If there was, I didn't know who it was, but like they they could have made so much money if they had
Th-
just been protecting the IP more early.
Well,
This
go
oh, go
ahead.
ahead, Rich.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, well, the thing about that too is before it came out, no one was even checking on us to see what we're
No,
even doing.
no,
Like,
no.
we were
It
just
was
working on this game for like years.
yeah, we just like burst through
Well,
this
and,
fence.
and
Yeah,
there was a lot of benign neglect. Like it was allowed to just sort of continue in development, even though, I mean, I know I've had a conversation with Chad. It was just sort of like, oh yeah, like it was nobody ever really thought it was going to work, right? And then there was a
Good
ton
Chad
of
conversation.
like
That sounds like a yeah.
looking like
Nailed it.
after action, sort of like, well, yeah, but we shouldn't have taken as long as we did. We should have done all that work in like a third of the time. That was the real problem.
Could you
We spent too
imagine?
much time.
Could you imagine that
You
golden
know?
goose should have had a bigger egg? It should have laid a
Yeah.
little faster.
I remember one time.
Yeah.
Give me a
I remember
break.
one
We
time
just-
I was in the bathroom with the CEO, and it was just a casual like, "Hey, so do you know when you're gonna be done with that zombie game?" And I was like, "I don't know, probably pretty soon." He's like, oh, "Okay."
Yeah,
That was it.
yeah.
So I wanted to just return now. What the hell? Oh, well, just to speak about how this idea of like the game took a long time to make by PopCap standards, even though
Yeah.
by AAA video game standards it was nothing. It was like, if you think about it, it's like George, Todd, you, Laura were the sort of four key creators of this game,
The
and you
core
guys
people.
spent
Yeah.
yeah, and like I did work on it, Matt did work on it,
Yeah.
the legions of QA people worked on it for about what, 3 years, 2.5, something like that.
I want to say that the total time turnaround for that game was like 4.
Uh,
So I think it was
which
pretty long.
which
Sounds right.
the higher ups at PopCap would sort of complain about that, even though it's like again in the standards of like a AAA game, or even
Yeah.
stuff that's happened with
They-
PvZ3, where they would have like a team of 70 people working for 3 years and
Mhm.
end up canceling the game. Uh, what I want to sort of get at is this idea that a big chunk of the last part of the development was just plussing and plussing and plussing and adding polish and chrome and
Dude,
all
yeah.
those mini games. And this was only really, it made so much sense in the premium game model, right? Whereas like this was a game that someone eventually was just going to download and buy for $20, and that was
Yeah.
it was you would, and so the idea was like they are going to get so much game
Oh yeah.
for this $20, it's going to blow their socks off, right?
Really, truly, like one of the last of the V8 interceptors there. Like that was one of the last
Serious.
of that era of like we're making this game and there's no pushing
Just to be
patches.
itself,
This
and
is
and
this is
and
it.
yeah, well,
yeah.
but what I want to get at is because then almost I think maybe Peggle 2 being the only exception is that everything after that was the freemium model, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the freemium model is just a completely different way to think about a game, because you have to have the store at the core of the game. You can't just go, I'm going to make a ton of games. Somebody pays me $20 and then they can just take it home and play it forever. It's like, okay, now we have to figure out a way to ask the player to kick us a couple of bucks every so often.
And like
Yeah.
I don't know like how long
Uh,
you intend to do this podcast, but honestly, I think one of the most important topics in the topic of PopCap is that conversion between the premium game where we came in and the freemium game when we went out, and that day that James came back to the office from that trip to Korea and China, and he came back and was describing like, oh yeah, over there the games are free. You just pay like you'll play like a cart game. You'll pay 5 extra cents for like a Chrome tailpipe. And I remember like Chad, of course, was like, well, that's stupid. That'll never work. And there's a bunch of people in the office that were just like, well, that isn't even the thing. That's dumb. But he was like, he could see the math. He's like, instead of getting $20 off of 100,000 people, you're getting a nickel off of 10 million people.
Well,
Like,
and but you
oh,
also
dude.
have the ability to get like $500 out of some
Off of
people,
whales,
right?
exactly.
The
Yeah,
the
yeah,
whales,
yeah.
yeah.
And but anyway, that's I don't want to sidetrack it, but that is a total. You could fill a 2-hour podcast easily talking about how we saw it from the front lines of like,
Oh,
it's
dude,
$20,
totally.
it's 10, it's
This-
$5, it's $1, it's free.
And this is reminding me too of something that I thought about last time around in editing our previous episode, is really kind of where PopCap slowed down and missed the ball a few times in that regard. Like I was thinking about as we were starting to work on free to play style game mechanics with the Blitz games. That was 2 years before Candy Crush came along.
That is
so
true. Yeah,
we
you're right.
literally we had Bejeweled sitting in a place with a leaderboard and this possibility of microtransactions and all that for 2 years before King.com came
Yeah.
along and went, oh, we can do that, and launched Candy Crush and just wrecked the whole scene. And so and I was thinking of that as you were talking about merchandising for PvZ, like how we just kind of missed that one. There's a couple of these big like industry marketing business moments that like what happened.
We were video game maker
I know, that's so
bros
weird.
in a video game making office. That's what we were doing. We weren't We weren't like, how do you, extort and capitalize on industry trends? It wasn't like
Yeah.
a big business meathead situation. It was like artists, which
Yeah,
Well, not
we were
everybody-
just having fun. It's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
It's true.
And then, and honestly, that after PvZ, that's why there's no other games that George and I made, or
Right.
any of us, because George refused.
He just
Yeah.
pieced out at that point.
He was
yeah.
like, "I'm not going to make any free to play games. Like, I want to make games that people just buy it and play it. I don't care about any of that stuff."
Yeah, so
Yeah.
let's poke at that a little bit, right? Because like, so you guys went after the first PvZ came out, right? Like you guys, I think George was like, well, I don't want to do PvZ 2.
Yeah,
I want to do another brand new game. And
yeah.
and that happened a couple, like, so I remember Yeti Train, but there was also was Yeti Train 2 games, or was there Yeti
was-
Train plus another?
There was like 4.
Yeah.
There was
Battle Kicker was my favorite.
Battle Kicker was my favorite, but we made that in 1 week.
That's the way it's done, baby.
Battle
That's where the
Kicker
good
was my
stuff comes
favorite.
from.
Do you know that one, Isaac? Battle Kicker? Did you
I
ever play that
remember. I
one?
remember the name, and I'm trying to remember what went on in it though.
This is why it's so cool, and I
Battles
really
and
wish that
Kicking.
we were able to make this game still, because it's so stupid. You're like an 80s action hero, side scroller, and as you're going, Nazis are coming, and
So you're like
and
Chuck Norris versus Nazis.
You're kicking the Nazis, right? And all these different kick styles. But then your upgrades were all these weapons, but you can't use any of them because you can still just only kick.
Just
Sorry, dude, you got your feet. Go.
Yeah, and so you
Could you
would just have
imagine-
all these like, I have 2 Uzis and a samurai sword, and you're like,
Could you
running, but
imagine
you're still,
sitting
like,
in the
kick.
in the office and having the meeting with the producers? They're like, "What's with these bees, guys?" So wait, he gets an Uzi, but he can't use it. Like, yeah, man, that's the whole thing. That's the whole. Like,
Dude.
wait, I don't.
Yeah,
like, just
yeah.
imagine trying to pass that by the money man. Oh my
Dude,
God.
we tried, and then
Yeah.
and then in the end too, like the final boss was like this big mechanism thing with this guy driving it, and you kicked it into outer space, and then that's how you won the game.
This is the like creative friction thing that worked and didn't work for PopCap, because we had so much like crazy inventive, like just fucking pie in the sky ideas
Yeah,
it was so
in the
rad-
game development studio, and then we had business just like I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know.
funny. It's but
No.
the business guys. It's like there's videos of like dogs like trying to eat a lemon. It's like they want it, but they're like, I don't know what I want. It's like, yeah, but
I got
you
sour,
do, what you want to do is you want to let the artist ferment in a room for 3 years and then kick something out.
Yeah,
You
that
will
was the
not
thing.
understand, but then you will make $10 million. Like,
Well,
I
that
mean,
dude-
because we had the luxury of not having to worry about the money end of things,
that's
right?
yeah,
Like,
the
yeah,
Visual
it's
2
true.
money hose was going.
Dude, for real.
Yeah.
And then like, well, when I worked on Yeti Train, which you mentioned, Steve, like I worked on that for like almost 2 years, and then it got canceled. It was almost done. It
I
got
didn't
canceled.
realize it went that long.
It went that long, and then Full Contact Bingo.
That's
Right.
was
right.
the other
Yeah,
one.
remember that one?
We worked on that one we were making the last level of the game. Like we were that far into the process, and they're like, nah, canceled. And all this happened after the buyout.
right?
Like,
yeah,
no.
yeah.
Right.
Because yeah, like George was stuck around for a while, right? Like as he
He
said,
did for a
worked-
little. Well, he had.
Yeah.
He was contractually he had to.
um,
He was part of that buyout.
But yeah, just sort of saying, I like that's interesting because I've never had that. I mean, I've met George like a couple of times, but I wouldn't really say I know him. But like, I can totally get how he's like, A, I'm not going to work on any of this freemium stuff, and B, I'm not really interested in doing a PvZ 2. Somebody else can do that,
Yeah, he didn't.
which
want
is
to do
like
that at all.
completely fair, right? It's like, I'm an artist, like a game.
When he just
Yeah,
spent his
it's
brain in 4
stereotype
years
thing,
on it.
Kind
you
of
know?
be a prima donna, but it's like, yeah, like I am actually an artist, and you saw what happens when you let me do my thing. Like, I can't
Yeah.
make those kind of magic under the scrutiny and derision that you would like.
That was the problem, right? Because him and Todd both were like, if we do a second one, it's not going to be as good. It's probably they're going to blame us for it. I mean, like it's going to be shitty because of all the things that we have to do to make it like so it's free to play and all that stuff, like all that stuff. And so, like, well, I just rather not do that because I'd want to make something else and take my chances there instead.
Now, do you guys think that maybe part of this, like for PopCap in particular, their only real experience with a sequel was going from original Bejeweled to Bejeweled 2. And now that's a
Yeah.
case where it's like, okay, once you play Bejeweled 2, there's no reason to ever play original Bejeweled again, right? Like Bejeweled 2 is just, it's sort of like Evil Dead 2, right? Like
Sure,
once you see
yeah.
Evil Dead
Oh
2, it's
yeah. Okay.
basically
All
just
right. All right.
doing that movie just better.
That
And
is like a perfect example right there.
right? Because like go back and play original Bejeweled. It's like, wait a minute, you don't get power gems. Like if you make a match of four, it's just nothing.
Yeah,
Like
this feels incomplete
so
and lame.
Bejeweled 2
Oh
is sort
yeah.
of
Yeah.
like the game that Bejeweled should have been, but where so like maybe that kind of institutional like, well, no, sequels are where you really nail it, right? And so maybe that feeling of like, well, so that's why you want to do the sequel, not realizing that, well, no, we actually didn't leave anything on the field for the original here for
That
Plants
was
vs. Zombies.
that was
Plants
the
vs.
thing.
Zombies, we
Yeah.
did do all that.
Because it was so packed full of stuff, man.
Yeah.
Like there was so many things you could do
Well,
in
and
there.
crispy and polished. You know, the one thing, another thing I wanted to mention, like it's kind of a bit off topic, but like not the PopCap look and feel thing that I mentioned, and a couple of things that PopCap did a lot better than everyone else was the QA team
Right.
and the
Yeah.
studio were there was hardly a delineation. Like there was so much like communication and cross kind of development with them. And
Mhm.
it not only did it help on the development of the games, but when it came time to polish, man, the polish that we got by having like a really like elite like QA department that
Do you know how
was
many times
really
I got notes
invested.
from Chad?
Well, but it also, but like it just sounds like placating, but like they felt heard, you know, like they
Yeah.
weren't like just like squawking into the wind. Like when they said something,
Well,
like
yeah.
the
I
studio
mean,
really
like,
did like accommodate it, and that made the games so much better.
because they were on the same, I mean, they were part of the development team. I mean, for me, from my perspective as a designer, I'm like, well, I play these games a lot, but the QA, they are playing these games more than everyone else by like an order of magnitude.
It
Oh,
had
for
an
sure.
eye,
Like
like
they
a
know
honed
these,
eye.
they know there's
Yeah.
no one in this company who knows the games better than the QA people who are testing it.
And
Uh,
PvZ had Rassiope, right?
Oh
I
yeah,
think
Yeah,
so, and
Oh
and
yeah.
uh,
yeah, he's
and
a monster tester. That guy's brain just can pick a thing
dude,
apart
Dude,
like
they
like
would
one
nothing
of
else.
find
God's own
the
creations right there, man.
Adam
minute little
Some
things,
McDonald's.
kind of
you know?
powerful mutant.
Yeah. No, for sure. They would find the tiniest little things that most people wouldn't even see. And I'd think, oh shit. And so then I'd go fix it. Like
Like,
if it was art related, but obviously with all aspects of the game. But there was that much attention to detail, right?
And
Like
crazy stress tests. Like, can I beat this without clicking? You know, like
or
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah,
I think
yeah,
Rassiope
yeah.
was like, can I
What do I
beat
do?
this? Can I beat this without sun producers?
right? Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
and just
Totally.
like you can't. How could you? And
And
it's
like,
like
that's a thing you cannot
just-
achieve by having one guy write a test pass and outsourcing it. Like there was a magic there. I always say that when I'm talking about PopCap games and what made them better is like that, like everybody in that studio, but the QA in the studio, and even like later release management in a lot of ways, there was one unit that made like a thing that was better than what other people were making, which was badass.
yeah.
Yeah. It was a whole system we had going there that supported it for sure.
No, 100%. Yeah, it's fucking 100%, man.
So, like, at what point? I guess I'll ask you, Rich. What point did you realize that PvZ was going to be a hit?
Oh, it's a music video, man. That was what I knew.
Oh, well, the music
Ooh,
video.
yeah.
Oh my god, dude. We made that music video in 1 week
And-
when I went down to
but
California.
then the hits on it were just like cranking up. I remember talking about it in our Friday meetings. People were like, "Bro, this thing is already popping off."
Dude, yeah. George wrote the lyrics. I think he wrote the lyrics. I'm not sure, but and then Laura obviously she did all of the music. But man, I remember working on that thing like all day and all night, like basically for a week straight. We did that. But knowing it was a hit was I think we were it was after it was released, right? Like for the regular version where you could just buy it, right? But then once it went to mobile
Yeah.
and we were looking at the charts and it was like it hit #1 and I was like, what? #1? Like above
Yeah.
Angry Birds for like a sec. It was like a back and forth between Angry
Well,
Birds
wasn't
and
it
PvZ.
wasn't it one of
Holy
the
shit.
like wasn't it one of the things where it's like somebody like Dave Roberts would have lined it up so that the first iPad basically you could play Plants vs Zombies on
Oh,
it
yeah.
as like one of the release
Yeah, I got ported on that. Yeah.
launch ready releases for that whole type of
So
technology.
the way
right?
I remember vividly that
I do remember that.
Yeah, we because Bejeweled was high on the board and early iPhone games, and they us and them were communicating, and they were like, we want to be involved in your thing. That's why we got them. I got my first iPhone from the company because they were like, we're gonna make iPhone games or whatever, and that was 2007, I think. But then later when they were like, we're gonna do PvZ on it, it was Dan Benet, and he was like a crazy iPhone development wizard, like really early on.
Oh
He had
yeah,
like the
he
direct
was
tools,
totally.
and
Yeah,
like,
he
they had
was good.
this crazy like there was like one department at Apple you could talk to, and there was like really like partition devices, and it was all this like it was weird developing for them. But I remember one day I'm bloviating again, but like it was Noah was working on the port for it because that was 600 by 900.
Yeah.
It was a different one, and they were like, "Well, how do we you shrink the game down? You know, is it portrait or landscape, and how do you do it?" And I remember we were like, you know, if you could shrink the bodies down but keep the heads big, and
Yes,
that'll make
I
them
remember
still
that. I remember
read.
keeping the
And it
heads
had
big.
these like
Yeah.
this kind of funny cartoony, like more Smurfy look or whatever.
Because you
But
kind of
yeah,
had to because
the
they were so small.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that iPhone development thing
But
was
that's a
it was
really good solution to that too, because it's just like it's like sort of when you're watching a movie, you're always paying attention to the actor's eyes. So
Or,
it's like
or
we shrink we just keep the thing that people are most focused on nice and big, and that gives us room to sort of just make the bodies a little bit smaller.
right. And I was talking about
Um,
like that manga anime influence
Mm.
as a kid, and Chibi is that deal where it's like you keep the head is basically the same head, but instead of their body, you just have this little like beanbag situation with little
Oh yeah,
points,
yeah.
you know, and
But
that
you know
still
what's-
reads.
I
They
just want
kept
to go
that with
back.
PvZ
Oh,
too. Also, that they kept
that's
the heads
true.
bigger,
Yeah.
even in the PC version or whatever. But
But I
heads are always
just wanted
bigger.
to jump
Makes
back
it
for a
cute.
second to the video, right? The zombies on your lawn video, because as you say, you like I think I remember you were down, because part of your whole work was that you would go down and be in
The
San Francisco for like a
San
week, a
Mateo, yeah.
month,
Damn it,
right?
kid. Well, no, I'd go
Or
down there for like a week
wherever
at a
it was.
time.
Yeah.
But
So,
yeah,
and then you guys were down there and you came back, and so if you just sort of sit and think like four people, you, George, Laura, and Todd, spent essentially, as you say, like a weekend. So if you like, so basically, what, like, I don't know how to calculate like the amount of money the PopCap spent over that weekend. Like, let's say it was $10,000,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't. And to think about like how much value was
The
added
ROI on that
And
is
that-
to
like,
it by that one
Dude.
weekend of work for
Yeah.
four people.
Dude,
but
Just
also
like,
with no oversight or direction, like that was done.
it was just
on-
because we wanted
on-
to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And here's
for
the other thing.
literal love of the game, right?
Yeah, I have a story about that. So there was one night it was at night, and I was working on part of the game, and I remember it was the part where like the mouth chews the brain, it goes down its throat or whatever. And I was working on that animating, and while I'm doing that, George and some of his other buddies that live by them, they're all sitting back there playing Castle Crashers on the couch
Ah,
behind me.
what a beauty, yeah.
I'm like, you sons of bitches, and I'm
So
like, keep working.
concerned.
And then one of his friends comes into the office and he's like, grenade. I'm like, what? And he like pretends like he throws a grenade at me and dives over a couch. And I'm like, who is this guy? And it was like one of George's random
Oh,
crazy
man,
friends.
So good.
And I was like, what is happening, dude? And
Man.
that's how I knew what Castle Crashers was.
The video in question is there's a zombie on your lawn video, right?
the credit
Yeah, the
sequence.
credits,
Yeah.
Yep, the credit sequence. But there's
And
been the
then-
remake, which we got to ask you guys about too.
Oh God.
You know how many people texted me about that?
Dude, I know.
Oh, so
I see a lot
let's
of
get into this. Like,
Have you
how do you
seen
guys?
all the shit on the internet?
Let's
Yeah.
get some spicy takes from you guys about where the state of Plants vs Zombies in 2026. Rich.
It's just fucked. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know.
No, you're
man.
not.
Well, no, I'm probably not.
have you been following it along? Have you been following the different versions along as they come out?
Well, yes, because they have sent me builds of the game for me to play. The funny part is they're like, if you have any feedback, just let us know. And I'm like, oh, so I'm just got free play tester.
You're like go to
Yeah,
JPEG.
totally. Thanks for all
But
the
yeah,
free work.
yeah. And not to mention that I've applied for. I mean, and I've said this before a million times online, other places, so it's not a big deal. But I've applied for at least 2 jobs at PopCap to work on Plants vs Zombies and been denied twice.
Dude, somewhere there's a desk drawer. Like
This
an
is what's
office
wrong with
cabinet
the industry.
that is like it's like
Right there.
black with a skull and crossbows on the side, and it's got like chains and padlocks around it. And inside is
like,
like
what
me
the
and
hell,
Rich's
dude?
employment folder. It's
I
like
know,
do not
seriously, dude.
rehire under any circumstances.
What is that? I don't understand.
This seriously, this pisses me off. I think
It
about
doesn't
this
make
more
any
than you could
sense.
possibly know. The fact that Rich is trying to get a job drawing Plants vs. Zombies, and like it doesn't fit in my head. I keep spinning it around. Like, where does this pan
I don't
out?
understand. It doesn't make any sense to me, but you know what? It is what it is. But I
I
just
mean,
know
I
that
put myself in the mind of some, executive level person at whatever passes for PopCap now going, well, like we really just want to keep moving into the future, right? We don't want to be stuck in the past. And just basically just sort of like quacking like a duck.
Man,
Uh,
that's
I
a
know.
very rosy colored version.
I
but
have
think
no,
it's
I
a
have no
lot
new
closer-
ideas. It's impossible for me to come up with anything new.
I think it's a lot closer to the thing. Well, like obviously they don't want like a a self-reliant, like entitled,
I think that's
old artist
I actually think
person.
that's the reason.
Right.
What they
to
want
be
is
honest.
fungible
You're
assets.
probably
They
right.
want somebody that can change like a memory, dim. It's
Well,
like,
Well,
I
no.
mean, and that's kind of the industry model, right? If you go to
Absolutely,
any of the
100%
big
it is.
companies,
For the
it's like
last,
they
like,
want to
15 years.
swap people out in these
Yeah,
these
yeah,
contract.
Well, they
Well,
don't
that-
want somebody who
right?
does all of it together. They want somebody who just like, what's your job? I draw bookcases. All right, we need a new bookcase guy, and it just
Here's
makes
our style
the,
guide.
The
Go.
machine
Yeah.
is easy to keep
Like-
Well,
running.
the other thing about it too
fungible.
is, and this especially from from working at DigiPenny, you have new people coming out all the time, right? And they're trying to get jobs, and so like, let's see, I can hire 3 or 4 guys out of college to work on this, and it'll be fine. Or I can spend all that money on one person to make
who's
that,
going
like
to
me to make it
expect 4 weeks of vacation, and is going to expect
exactly.
some
Yeah.
stocks,
And I'm
he's
not going to want to
be
work
heard
like
in
80 hours a
meetings,
week.
and he's
Yeah.
not going to want to come in on Sundays. Yeah, dude.
Exactly.
It,
So
it,
that-
it is all kind of obvious when you talk about it in those terms, but it's just infuriating conceptually that that's what is happening. But I
Well,
also
and-
business wise, I do kind of get it in that regard. But what the fuck?
Well, and especially that those same kinds of dynamics don't seem to apply to folks in the higher level managerial spheres, right? It's not like
Matt's
like
like,
it's perfectly cool
No.
for them to expect to be paid like crazy amounts of money to, be
Yeah.
in the office when they feel like it and have all the time off and work-life balance because their contribution is so very like crucial to the creation of these games.
Gosh, we got to do a whole nother side podcast just about bitching about the industry between like 2005 and 2015, and boy,
God.
Yeah,
I know, man.
yeah.
I actually got I heard I didn't see this specifically, but I was told by it doesn't matter, I guess. Like, I was talking to Laura, but we were gonna do like we were thinking about trying to do some kind of a collaboration where like she would do a music, compose a track for the relaunch of PvZ, and I was gonna do some art for it, maybe some animation, and just put it out there like, hey, look, some of the original guys are back to work on something. It never went anywhere because I had the meetings and then it just didn't go. But I feel like the reason that those meetings happened was because all the stuff that was going on the internet about the relaunch and how it was using AI and all this stuff. And I was just answering people's questions. And apparently there was a point where the heads up at EA were like, can you just tell Rich to stop talking shit? like
as somebody who's known Rich for this long, hearing somebody say, "Hey, could you get Rich to stop talking shit?" I would have started laughing so hard.
And so I think it was more like
like you
we'll
better
throw
have
you
a
a
gun.
bone. It felt like it was like a throw you a bone
It's
thing.
like, you could be paid for your silence.
That's what I told Rich the other day. I was like, "That
That's
sounds
the
like it
new
might be worth
job."
money." That's what I
Yeah.
said. I was like, "Hey, that
If you
sounds
give me a
valuable to you.
paycheck, I will fucking
I
keep
can
my
shut
mouth
my
as shut
mouth
as you
all the
want.
way.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
shut the fuck up
Yeah,
and want to pay me.
$200,000
And you'll even
for
get,
a
you'll get some
month.
art out of it too. Like,
Yeah,
it's
you'll
a-
get something out of it.
I don't want to. I know there's a line where like libel and extortion there, but I think if you had talked to a lawyer, you'd probably figure out where that line was.
Right?
Yeah. Map it out perfectly, and
I know,
proceed.
right? Totally. I don't know, man. I was just like a weird situation. I was like, oh, I see what's happening. Like, throw me a bone so that maybe I'll work on some stuff and then I'll calm down.
100%. Like, oh, buddy, we're still friends, right? We're still friends, right? You're not going to testify, are you?
I don't even think there's even an office anymore. It's just online
Well,
only.
So let's talk a bit about like how you guys you both left PopCap, right? So I want to hear about like each of your decision, the time you decided, okay, it's time for me to go, right?
Decided, yeah.
Well, I guess
Somebody
you guys
decided.
had slightly different exits from PopCap.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Rich,
You-
what was
right.
yours?
Well, mine was because after EA got bought, and then
EA
they.
just got bought by the Saudis, but no, when PopCap got bought by EA.
I mean, that's what I meant. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. I'm stupid. They let George and Todd go at one point, and I'd only been working with those guys for so long that I was like, now what am I going to do? And so I got put. That's when I got put on the Peggle 2 train.
But jeez,
Oh, what that was.
But I was like,
dun it.
my position was sort of under that new guy. There was a new guy that came in. I can't remember his name. That young new guy that came in.
The producer?
No, the artist kid. I can't remember his name.
Oh,
He did
Greg
that-
Messler?
Yes.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
came in
yeah.
and I was like under him now. And
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Well, Greg's pretty good.
I mean, he's cool, but I was just like, bitch. What?
Do you not
what
know
I was
who
just
I
talking
am?
about? What I was just talking about with like why our artist folders have like the skull and crossbones on them.
I
It's
know.
because like, yeah, I'm not gonna
And I was
say-
just like, man. And so like I was pretty disheartened, right? Like, man, this sucks, bro. Like, what am I
it
doing?
sucked. Being an artist on
That
PvZ
actually
too
speaks a
was-
lot to a point I brought up in the last episode too about the whole corporate move of pulling in new people over the top of old timers, paying them more,
Man.
and having them create a hot
Yeah,
seat,
I was like, what?
bounce the old timers out. That's
Seriously.
the move, and then that's
mean,
what
Yeah,
happened.
dude. I could talk for 3 hours about what you just said.
Oh God, I know. Sorry, man. But yeah, so that happened to me, and I was like crushed by that. But then they were like, they brought me on and talking to me about, working on the characters for Peggle 2. But at the time, Matt, you had done most of it already, like on your own. Like there was so many,
there was so much.
there was so
character
much art, and
concept
for some
there.
reason,
But
they were like,
what they were
take
really
those and
looking
do
for-
something.
They wanted somebody who could draw and animate them all the way in one person because they didn't want to have 3 people, a concept artist, a guy doing pieces and rigs, and an animator. They wanted one, and they didn't have the team for it. And I'm not an animator. I can animate a
Well,
bit.
I didn't animate
animated
it.
in games. Yeah, but you knew how to animate. You can make the
Well,
piece.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
but
cut
that
everything
was-
up, right? Like
Yeah.
I would do that, and then I would give it
Yeah.
to Gene, and Gene would add whatever he needed to add.
I
to
could make a
it
really
animate.
neato Squeedo looking concept, but like that was about where the party stopped.
So I mean, that's where that came from, and that was a weird part of work. I didn't really like that because I felt bad about it because I was like,
it was all bad. It was all bad.
like
I
I'm
felt bad
taking
about
other
it.
people's art and then I'm making a new version of something that's based off their stuff, but they're only going to recognize that I made that. It's not
Yeah.
like I didn't come up with those things 100% on my own. Like, because there was
Yeah.
one character that not even really. I mean, it was sort of still halfway yours, but yeah. So I did that, and then I was like, man, I was just really like feeling down the dumps.
That was a dark development. I mean,
Yeah.
Peggle 2.
I've made
Yeah,
like
Peggle
I
2,
said,
man, was
like
rough.
20 and 30 game developments I've been on in my life, and there've been some gnarly ones. But Peggle 2 was soul shredding. It still haunts me.
It was bad. And then George contacted me and was like, I'm not allowed to make. He wasn't allowed to make anything because he had signed a contract when he
Non-compete for X amount.
had a non-compete, right? But he's like, when that's over, which
rock
is coming up,
compete.
we're gonna compete. I was like,
Tonight.
yeah, man, I'm down, bro. So like, when he said that, he was like, I'll match everything that you're doing there at PopCap. Just come work for me instead. I was like, all right. So
I
he did that.
that deal.
Well, he did that with me for almost 5 years.
Oh man, yeah, no, my next job I got about a 75% pay cut.
Oof.
Had a lot of fun though.
We talking tyrants in space?
Yeah, baby.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
you worked on that too, dude.
No.
Both
Actually,
you guys.
right after
Yeah.
the very next thing I did was when I worked at Z2 on a Clash of Clans
Oh, that's right.
clone, and met a bunch of cool guys, and had a real good time. It really did. It brought me back. Like coming after PvZ2, anything was a palate cleanser, honestly.
Oh,
But-
dude. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off, but like, I don't remember how you left PopCap though.
Oh, there was a layoff. Me and Jeremy.
It was
got
just a
at
layoff?
the same time.
Oh.
But yeah, they basically they got all of us old timers that were like entitled overpaid grognards. They got most of us to jump off ship, but there was a few of us that were hanging on. Maybe because
I was still there.
Yeah,
Dude, you're the last person.
Steve was
If
written
I-
into the
If I had
contract.
gotten a bigger
That's the
payout,
joke.
I would have bailed. But then they were like, "Well, your payout sucks, so we'll give you stocks." So I'm like, "I'm gonna have to wait around for the stocks to, what's
Vest.
it called? Vest."
Oh,
yeah.
dude, yeah, I had a problem with that too. That was sucky.
I lost out on like half of them. It would have been about $250,000 worth of stocks I missed out on by that layoff. I remember asking, one of the guys, the founder guys that we're friends with, I was like, "Man, could you wait like 3 months?" And he's like, "Can't help you, Betty." I'm like, "Okay,
Oh,
whatever." But yeah,
Yeah.
after they go into Z2, like after that layoff, I was basically just day drinking all day at the bar, and I got
Oh
I got
God.
a email that said it was funny because all the people that I used to work with were just walking by me, looking at me in the bar.
Dude, that
drinking.
sucks, dude.
Oh,
I know
no,
because
what
the
are you talking-
bar's right
that's fucking
there.
prime Matt Holmberg action right there.
Damn.
But I got the email and
Still
it was
here,
like,
guys.
"Oh, we just saw your name on a list of people that got laid off. Do you want to work there?" And I went down there, and there was a bunch of kids that were working there that knew me from my buddy Kyle Leary. Shout out, my man.
Hell yeah.
And they'd seen me like I talked about Photoshop down at Art Institute, and then I would hang out at Kyle's place drawing, and they'd seen me do Photoshop stuff, and they were like, "Oh, this guy, like fucking hell, let's hire him right now." But it was for like 35K, I think. So I mean, I dropped like
Oh.
it was a large
It's a moment of silence. Jesus.
but it was like
Yeah,
either
no
that
shit.
or just unemployment, and all they wanted me to do was like draw GI Joe tanks. I'm like, fucking A. I mean, I do that for free.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just down the street. So yeah, I
Well,
did that
he's
just
all-
not for long, and then then Blue Wizard and made Tyrant, which again, like I think at the end I figured I lost about $60,000 in that development. Like I was just paying out of my own money because I wasn't making nearly enough. But that's also kind of my spending problem. I didn't have a mortgage or anything, but still living in Seattle, it's just expensive, man.
It
Yeah,
is.
and indie games that don't have that fountain of bejeweled money behind them.
That's
just-
exactly the deal. That's exactly
Oh
the
no,
deal.
100%. Yeah.
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 There was I remember there was a lot of we'd make a big hit at PopCap and people would be like, "Man, that game made so much money. I should have that much." And it was like, man, we were getting a high salary for years with
Mhm.
just the trust that it would work out. Like that's
I know, dude. Yeah, that
amazing.
never happened again.
They weren't
man.
even keeping track of our vacation. We had like as much vacation as we wanted. We didn't use it because we were working so hard. But
That is true. I remember never really taking vacation.
we had the
hardly ever.
Primera Blue Cross like card. You could just go in any doctor you
Free.
ever wanted.
Everything
Yeah,
was like
dude,
Give you a
free,
new
like,
body.
dude.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I know.
Dude, it was
Transplant your
amazing.
brain.
Or fucking remember
Dude.
the time fucking Weinstein emailed in. He's like, "I'm not coming to work today. I don't want to put pants on."
Yeah, and everyone's like,
Yeah.
I just want to put pants on, so
Yeah,
we'll see him
yeah.
tomorrow.
You know, so
No, I did want to add.
about that.
I'd want to add one little thing that there was the running joke, and I'm sure Steve has heard it at this point that there is the belief that it was written into the PopCap EA buyout that Steve Notley got to stay around indefinitely. Do
What?
not
Like, no
let
matter
that
what.
guy go. And as it turns out, like 17 years later, he's like,
Dude, when I heard
Well,
you finally were gone, I'm like, damn. He stayed
I've
there
heard
long.
that rumor, I think mostly just from you, Isaac. I've never.
"Oh, I've spread it. I have spread it. I'm not."
Well, it's the fucking
but
rhyme of the
I
Ancient
have-
Mariner. It's like I got
Well, yeah.
a Steve Atross around my neck.
A Steve
can't-
Atross.
Dude, you don't get to shake the
If-
guy. And I
if-
profess
if-
he's the soul of PopCap. I mean, that
If
comes
it
as
was
a huge
controlling
compliment at the same
policy,
time.
they did a very good job of hiding it. Like they never, certainly in the like late 20 teens or whatever, I never had the impression that or
I was
early
on a group chat with
2020s.
Steve ever since 2009 or something with our other buddies. And yeah, like he was not being treated like a king, I can assure you.
But he was still there.
He was
Yeah,
still
he
there.
just-
I was
Man, it's
still
just-
drawing a paycheck, yeah, for sure.
Was
It
he like? He's like that guy in Office Space. He's in the basement with his
Yeah,
stapler.
Milton
my
Webb. Yeah.
No one knows.
Where's my
Is he
stapler?
is he employed?
So you guys, Matt and Rich, like you can do anything. You're magical creatures. You could just make shit happen. What is, and I want to hear this from both of you. What is your like dream project? If you could just have a dream project, like somehow like God wrote a check and just said do this thing, what would it be?
Rich, you got one?
Yeah, well, I mean, probably only because I've been trying to do it on my own anyway. But honest to be honest with you, all I want to do is paint like acrylic paintings, dude. Like I do these things called gross ups, which is like the super zoomed in, like old Ren and Stimpy style.
Or, yeah,
Right, right,
SpongeBob
yeah,
with like
yeah.
the burger, yeah.
Yeah, but so
Zoom
I'll-
in and all the
Yeah, so I've
pimples
been-
and the hairs and
Yeah, so I've been doing that, but I've been going through all cartoons I can think of and picking cartoon duos and then doing that, and I just want to do that, and like
That's
I wanna-
awesome.
I just love to have a gallery show one day and just be able to do that. I mean, that's just
You're
fun.
reminding me that Ren and Stimpy, where like he picks up the baby and then it zooms in and he's like pushing the baby against the stuff and
Yeah,
like
dude.
his hairs are like popping chunks of skin out of the
That's
baby.
what I want to do, because like a lot of the drawings and stuff that I do for everything else is not like that. Like it's a lot tamer, and I just want to just not think about being tame on stuff and just do whatever the hell I want. And I haven't been able to for a really long time. So unless I have a moment of here and there, but That's what I would do. What about you, Matt?
Skapal.
Oh yeah, oh dude,
Yeah,
Skapow, dude.
Done deal. Easy peasy.
Yeah,
The one that got
dude.
away. The one that got away. Yeah.
I just found. Oh man, I just found the drugs I did for Skapow with like because I remember I did two of the.
You
I
did the Goog was the sort of
The freight guy.
yeah,
the
exactly,
truck
like the
driver with the
18-wheeler
trailer,
driver in space.
and then
His
the other guys
special
with the
powers
zombies
dumping a
eating
bunch of
brains, right?
For all the listeners that have no idea what we're talking about, like one of our biggest ever deals. You can see my
Oh, that was so
maybe
fun.
my
Yeah,
Earthworm
dog.
Dreadnought.
Yeah,
Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
dude.
Lindsay, my man,
Oh yeah, dude.
did that tattoo for me. But yeah, Star Control 2 was a game that was very near and dear to me and Steve's heart. One of the craziest stories at PopCap that I can remember was trying to get my old 3DO to work, and somebody closed the door on the power cable, and it ripped out of the board in the back. And me and Steve were in the fun room on the 8th floor, and we had to
I
figure out
remember
how to get
that.
this fucking thing to work. And we might have been drinking because it was like 1 p.m.
Yeah.
So we'd already had a couple drinks, and we were
What
like,
1 p.m.
how do we get this thing to work? And I remember we
Breakfast.
tried to get some nerds to help us, and they were like, "Dude, put this thing away. You're gonna hurt yourselves."
It's
And
broken,
we
you know, like you
walked
can't
around.
fix an old
We
console
we
that
walked
the
out of the Radio Shack by
power
the
plug is
Blade in
broken out
Seattle,
of.
and the Blade is the gnarliest street in Seattle, Third and Pine. It's like really kind of the only place that's actually dangerous in this part of the city, at least. And
Dude,
got some stuff at
that
Radio
was
Shack,
gnarly.
and we came back, and I remember with some Scotch tape and a paper clip. And I'm not even fucking shitting you. We hot wired the power
Just
supply
MacGyvered it.
on
Yeah.
that 3DO, and we started playing Star
Bought like a
Control
little
at the
chunk
fun
of
room.
plastic that turned out to not be the right one and
Run,
didn't fit.
yeah.
So
So
we
we
actually just like
bent it around,
cut
carved it
pieces of
down.
it off with an
Yeah.
X-Acto knife until
Dude,
we could tape it into the
If
back
I
of the
if I
3DO.
if
I
could
do
have
remember that.
footage
Like,
of us
don't
doing
touch
that.
that console because it's gonna fuck up.
Dude,
if
I
you touch
remember
it.
when we didn't know if it was which was positive or negative, and it was like we'll plug it in, we got a 50-50 chance. I remember making eye contact with Steve in that room. Dude, it was
Here it comes.
premiere. I mean, of like the million stories I have making video games, that was maybe the one. But yeah, Skapow was a clomage game of that. And like we were talking about, you make a game, you're not really sure if it's going to be fun. And that game was a clomage, or a homage, so you kind of knew it was going to be fun. But it was fun. Like our ship designs were good. That game was
Yeah,
solid.
all the stuff
For
that
what
we
it
made
was,
for it was way cooler.
Like that
Like, it was
that could have
awesome.
been a game on Steam that would have been absolutely successful.
Oh,
As
for
good as any
sure.
game I've made since, no problem. That was the one that got away for sure.
No, yeah, man. Oh man, I can't believe you brought that up. That's crazy. I just found the what do you call it? The portraits for the two
Yeah.
characters, the two
Oh,
ones
man.
I did, and
Well-
the truck driver guy. I was like, dude, that's so
Yeah.
sick. Like, why are we doing that kind of stuff anymore? Like,
And I'll mention I had a conversation with Jason Kapalka like last week. Now there's a game. So you guys have mentioned Blue Wizard a couple of times, and they've got a bunch of different games. And one of the games they have that just came out a couple of weeks ago is called Gulf Guardian. You could just go like https://gulfguardian.io. You can go play it. It's like a vector style game, like Asteroids or Battlezone, in which you are a boat trying to protect some oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz.
what?
And Jason made this game himself. He's not a coder. He made it in a few days using Claude code.
He vibe coded it.
He vibe
Oh
coded
no
it.
shit.
And he sent me a Claude referral, and I spent 2 hours yesterday talking to Claude, trying to go, okay, let's see if I can make like a little Skapow.
I read
Hello,
your mail
computer.
about that.
Thing
That's
where it's
awesome.
like,
Hello,
here's the
computer.
spaceship.
You pick up your mouse and talk into it. Hello, computer.
And yeah, well, you don't talk into it, but you just sort of say, okay, like you give it a top line description, and then say like it's a space action game, blah blah blah. There's
Type
this
fuck
spaceship,
swimmer into there.
and it's a weird thing because and it was only like 2 hours worth, but it's like, okay, there's going to be like this spaceships shooting each other, and then trying to figure out how to have a conversation with this AI to tell it, okay, well now I want everything to move like half as fast. I want you to expose like the damage they do, the spaceship's health. I want those all to be sliders that I can adjust. But the fact that it's possible, the fact that like a rando essentially can sit down and just talk,
Makes Skapow.
That's
a thing
crazy,
through
dude.
it is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
So I don't want that to be where we close on, because I think it's something we're
Well,
getting.
we
let's
should
make
do-
Skapow.
But like honestly, there's in the YouTube link to this, we should do some recordings of some gameplay for Pig Up and Skapow, because I know we got old running
Dude, Pig
versions.
Up
And
especially, man.
just
I love that
just
game.
post like a 2-minute YouTube video and put
Well,
it in the comments
I
so
mean,
people
our
can see what you're
previous
talking about.
episode is all about Pig Up, right? So,
So yeah, but I've got a build on here. We could definitely do a gameplay video and put it on YouTube and link it. Yeah,
It'd be some fun to have a couple of these, yeah, where we just kind of go
especially if
off
we can
on
go back
some
through,
of
if we
the
could
fun
find
shit we
like
did.
Punch Patrol
Yeah.
or Prince of Toys or
Yeah.
Go
Dude,
Mini
if there's a
Golf
build of
or
Prince of Toys anywhere, that'd be
Robo
insane.
Dojo, or I could talk about a million games that never made it, that would people may have never seen. It would be fun to show them.
I can show you guys
Totally.
Battle Kicker.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh.
Battle Kicker.
Oh, yeah.
I have it here. I
that
have
one
it.
about gathering stuff on the island you guys did for
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Decked Out.
clearly there's plenty of runway for us on the unofficial PopCast.
I think there's something else we should ask him though before
Okay,
we
sure.
get to that. And I
Okay.
hate to interrupt, but that is basically, what are you guys pushing right now? Like, what are you? Have you got something you're selling? Something you want people to know about?
I do. Do you, Matt?
Yeah, I'm kind of not really.
No. Oh, all right.
A little bit.
All
You've
right.
been
Well,
working
then
on some cool-
I'll just say it.
Yeah.
So I have multiple things to work on. Actually, there's a book that I'm working on. It's a children's version of Mad Magazine that I'm working on with a bunch of other illustrators and
Oh, I
artists.
think I've seen
One
like
is Doug TeNapel, and then Ethan Nicole from Axe Cop, and a bunch of other people that are in more like the film industry. It's called This Book Might Explode, and I'm working with those guys on that right now. And it's still it's a subscription based book. It's called Explodeyworld.com if you go there, and you can subscribe to it, or you can buy one off books. But we're trying to get that off the ground. Like it's still kind of getting there. But we're about to start working on book 5, I think. So like it's like 200 pages each one. They're huge.
Jeebs.
Wow.
Yeah, they're
Wow,
big, and
man.
it's all about like anything to get kids away from like their iPads and
Right.
Yeah.
actually draw and cut out things and make stuff and write things. It's
a
like
steep
crayons.
climb.
I know it's a steep climb, okay, but it's cool. It's a good idea. I like it. So I'm working on that, and I'm also working on another game. I think I'll just say I don't care. Well, I won't say the name of it, but there is a game I'm working on, a board game coming out, and another board game with another group of people that might be coming out, and then also what else? God, I have so much shit going on. Is there anything else? I think those 3 are the big ones. And then my commissions, which I just normally do, just email me at richward@hotmail.com and I can do a commission for you. But other than
But
that,
don't
yeah,
be a dick about it.
yeah, just don't be a dick about it, man.
Don't
Like,
demand satisfaction. You get
give me some
punched, so.
fucking time, okay?
Seriously.
Like, I'm a human being. I'm not an animal. No.
The only thing I had going on was we just did the Kickstarter for my old game, Magi Nation. We had a set.
Oh, that one. Sorry.
Put out.
I'm part of that too.
There's a big other funny story. You can tell it some other time, but yeah, Traders Reach for that, and it was the best art I'd ever made in my life 25 years ago. Now it's somewhere around 7 or 8 out of 10. So, but anyway, it's a thing that went out, and it's cool, and it's a fun thing to check out. So that's that.
Really
I'm-
intense fan base for that. Like people that have been fans for decades.
Yeah, really
Do
intense.
you have a
followed
link?
it.
Do
Like,
you have
no
a link
joke.
on your top of your head for that? Like for people
I-
to go check it out, or is
Yeah,
it just
Arcanist
Kickstarter?
Armory probably would be the thing. I will have to find one we can put in the
Yeah,
comments.
we'll get all this stuff from you guys and put it in the
That's
comments.
fine. Yeah, I forgot
Totally.
we're working. I'm working on that too. So it's so stupid. But yeah,
That's right.
Other than that, I'm just making
Jesus.
own stuff for myself. Play a lot of BattleTech. I'm making a homebrew BattleTech campaign right now. Make a lot of
Nice.
Yeah.
miniatures, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not no, nothing really to push.
Well, you guys have been awesome. Like I think I mean, Isaac and I were both pretty confident that once we got us going here, we would just go, and that seems to have been the case. And again, it's crazy. You finish one of these like 90-minute conversations, and you're like, I could just keep going. I mean,
I know
maybe
there's so much
Like I said,
more.
I could
Yeah.
talk about that. I didn't say half of the stuff I could have, and I could talk for days.
Well,
If
that
we were
means
to
you
sit
have to
and
come
crack
back.
a 6-pack of beer next time we do
Yeah.
this. Like,
Well, we're
it's on.
probably going to end up splitting this into 2 episodes,
Right.
especially if it turns out we ended up like
yeah.
missing half of it because of.
Oh, I know. Damn it. Whatever.
But well, thanks you guys both for coming on. You guys have been awesome. We hope our listeners enjoy having heard some of these like spicy stories from
Look at all
behind
our
the
gray
veil.
hair. Look at that. Look at that.
What are you talking? Look at my shit, dude. What the hell?
Like, subscribe,
Isaac's
And look at
comment.
Isaac.
Yeah.
Isaac, anything else you want to finish off with?
No, I've been really looking forward to this and hanging out with you guys. And I think it's also that I just want to hang out with everybody in person too. And
Dude,
just
yeah,
shoot the
that's
shit,
what we need to do.
whether we're
For real.
recording stuff
I've
or
been
not.
meaning, Isaac, to take a train trip to Cali, just because I think it'd be fun, and I'd like to get out of Seattle for a minute. So yeah,
Love
let's talk
to.
about that. Go crash Steve's place, smoke some.
Yeah, totally.
Wait,
Here
that's
I
right,
am.
Steve. You're in Cali, dude.
I'm in
forgot
Los
about that.
Angeles.
Oh, dude,
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
could totally. It wouldn't take us. It would be cheap, and it would take us a couple days to go do. That'd be fun.
I'm down.
that'd be so awesome. Grab a train, just disappear out of town for 4
I've never
This
days.
is the
been on a
longest
come
I've
back.
plane.
ever gone without being in California.
I can point you at a 2-star hotel I do one shift a week at
Hey, I know a guy.
for like
I see
90
a
bucks
comfy
a
looking
night.
chair behind you there. Right?
There's
There's
there
a
are
good chair there. Yeah.
not all the rooms have bugs in them.
All
Oh
right.
my god.
I can bring my own.
Well, that's
All right.
attractive.
Like,
Okay,
that's like I got my
well,
own bugs. Don't worry about it. It's cool.
So I'm gonna like do the wrap up, but then we
Yeah.
can just keep chit chatting, and I'm
I
not gonna stop
gotta go.
recording.
I got a thing going
But,
on at 3. I gotta prep.
All
for it. I
right,
gotta go
so
here.
well, folks, this has been another episode of the unofficial PopCap PopCast with very special guests Rich Werner and Matt Holmberg, artists from the original Plants vs. Zombies. We've had fun. Hope you guys did too. And yeah.
yeah, dude, that's what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
PopCap.
There it is.
Free ball.
Classics.
Oink.